So in today's video, we shall discuss about the miscellaneous mycotoxin. So under miscellaneous mycotoxins, the two important mycotoxins are the ergot and the fescue mycotoxin. So the first mycotoxin is the ergot mycotoxin. See, ergot, it is a name for the group of mycotoxin alkaloid, and ergot as such it is not a name of the fungus, so it is a name given for the group of such mycotoxin alkaloids. And the source for this ergot is the fungus Claviceps purpurea. And the history of ergot, it dates back to the Middle Ages. So during that period, so the ergot poisoning, it was famously called as Saint Anthony's fire. So why it was called as Saint Anthony's fire is the human beings who used to consume the bread made out of the rye grains. So the bread made out of rye grains, so the human beings they used to feel burning sensation in the feet and in the hands, in the extremities of the hand and the feet. So because of that burning sensation, the name was put as the fire. So why Saint Anthony's fire is, so the people suffering from such condition, they were sent to the church. So Saint Anthony's church. So in that church, the people used to get treated of this ergot poisoning. So that's how the ergot poisoning came to known as Saint Anthony's fire. So what usually happens in the church was, so they used to give a clean diet. So they used to wash the rye grains and they used to make bread out of the same rye grains which has been thoroughly washed. So when the fungus is warded off after washing, so when they eat this clean bread, so they won't suffer from ergot poisoning. So that was the thing that differentiate between the bread that is given in the St. Anthony's church and the people who consumes elsewhere. So that's why the ergot poisoning came to known as St. Anthony's fire. So later on, as time progresses, so they diagnosed and the culprit was due to this rye infestation. Then they started cleaning rye grain and then they started making this bread. Whereas in animals, this is not the case. So very seldom we used to clean the grains. So what happens in the animal? So unknowingly they might ingest this fungus infested rye grain or maize or corn, maize corn, oats, barley, or any of these grains infested with this fungus, they used to succumb from ergot toxicity. Now animals are more susceptible for ergot poisoning than the human beings. And this Claviceps purpurea, the fungus, it used to infest the ryegrass, maize corns, wheat, barley, oats, wild grasses, and the fescue grass also. And the fungal spores of this Claviceps purpurea, they used to infest preferably young rye or the other plants. So there it gets germinated into the hyphal filament, and this hyphal filament, it used to consume the entire substance of the grain and hardens there itself to form black to purple body called as sclerosium. And this sclerosium or sclerotia, it is a toxic element of the fungus. It is one of the part of the fungus, so which mainly leads to ergot toxicity. And this sclerotia, it contains various ergot alkaloids. So you might have seen in the barley grains or in the paddy grains also. So in the paddy grain, some of the paddy grain, you might notice the black colored paddy grains, and that black colored paddy grains, it is mainly due to the infestation of Claviceps purpurea, that too specifically the formation of the sclerotia. So ingestion of such sclerotia along with normal grains, so it used to contain the ergot alkaloid, then it will lead to the ergot toxicity. And the ergot alkaloid, so which are the mycotoxins? So the mycotoxins are ergot alkaloids. The important ergot alkaloids are, so it's already been covered under sympathetic nervous system. Under sympathetic nervous system, under alpha agonists and alpha antagonists, we covered this chapter. So again it's a repetition. So important ergot alkaloids are ergotamine, ergometrin, and ergotoxin. So ergotoxin, it is a collective name given for the ergocarnin, the mixture of ergocarnin, ergocryptin, and ergocristin. So among this, ergotamine is important, and it is the most toxic ergot alkaloid. And the ergotism that affects the cattle, it is mainly due to the presence of this ergot alkaloid, ergotamine. And this ergot, they are derivatives of lysergic acid, LSD. So you know about lysergic acid, it is a CNS stimulant. So if ergot alkaloids are derivatives of LSD, obviously the ergot alkaloids will also have CNS stimulant property. So it mainly, the ergot toxicity, it is mainly seen in case of cattle and during warm and wet weather, so preferably May and June. And also very much high incidence of ergot toxicity, it is more commonly seen during the winter season. In India and in southern parts of India, very commonly the ergot toxicity is seen during the winter season. And stall fed animal, so stall fed animal with high contaminated grains, so if there is ingestion of highly contaminated grains with this fungus, and the stall fed animals, they are more susceptible for ergot toxicity. So if you autoclave the feed, or if you expose it for more than 150 degrees centigrade temperature, or application of 1% chloride solution, it will decrease the chances of ergot toxicity. Then the mechanism of action. So mechanism of action of ergot alkaloids are, they are non-selective in nature. Say they don't act selectively on a particular receptor. So it is having a non-selective action. So it might act on adrenergic receptor, serotonergic receptor, and the dopamine receptor as well. And on the smooth muscle, so it will act both on vascular smooth muscle and on the uterine smooth muscle. And the primary mechanism of action. So the primary mechanism of action of this ergot alkaloids are, they are partial agonist and antagonist of adrenergic receptors, preferably alpha 1 receptors. You know the action of alpha 1 receptor. So if an agonist act on the alpha 1 receptor, the resultant effect will be the prominent vasoconstriction. The same thing happens here. So the ergot alkaloid, it causes prominent vasoconstriction. And my question here is, see this ergot alkaloid, it is both a partial agonist and antagonist of adrenergic receptor. See here it is an antagonist of adrenergic receptor also. So it might cause vasodilation. Then why it is causing prominent vasoconstriction? It is my question. If it is also having antagonistic action, then how come vasoconstriction? See what will generally happen. See if this is the alpha 1 receptor. So when ergot alkaloid come and bind to the alpha 1 receptor, so it acts as an antagonist, right? It's a partial agonist and antagonist, so it acts as a partial antagonist, so that the adrenaline or noradrenaline, so it will not allow adrenaline or noradrenaline to come and act on the alpha 1 receptor, because ergot alkaloid is also already present in the alpha 1 receptor and it is having antagonistic action. Apart from antagonistic action, so it is also having partial agonist action. So this partial agonistic action, because of partial agonistic action, ergot alkaloid, by virtue of itself, it will activate the alpha 1 receptor due to partial agonistic action, and activates the alpha 1 receptor and brings about the vasoconstriction. It will not allow adrenaline or noradrenaline to act on the alpha 1 receptor, but by virtue of itself, it is having partial agonistic action. So it will act on the alpha 1 receptor and brings about prominent vasoconstriction. Why prominent vasoconstriction? Because the period for which it acts on alpha 1 receptor is very long. So because of that, there is a persistent vasoconstriction. So because of such a persistent vasoconstriction, so it will lead to capillary endothelial damage. So due to capillary endothelial damage, it will lead to thrombus formation. So thrombus formation in turn decreases the blood supply to the dependent parts, especially to the extremities, the limbs and the hands, or the any extremities, ear, tail. So it causes necrosis and gangrene of the extremities. So the action of ergotamine is prominent. So this mechanism of action, it is very prominent feature of ergotamine when you compare it with other ergot alkaloids. So what is the primary action of ergot alkaloid? It is having a partial agonistic and antagonistic action on the adrenergic receptor, preferably alpha 1 receptor. As a result, there will be persistent vasoconstriction, capillary endothelial damage, thrombus, necrosis, and gangrene of extremities. So it will lead to the slough off of the extremities, slough off of the ear, tail, and the and the limb, the parts of the limb, because of this mechanism of action. And the second mechanism of action of ergot alkaloid is it is a partial agonist and antagonist of serotonin receptor. So because of which it will also play a role in vasoconstriction, and because of this property, ergot alkaloid sometimes it is having therapeutic use also. So it is used to treat migraine also, migraine headache. These ergot alkaloids are occasionally used due to this property. And the third mechanism of action is it is having oxytocic action. So preferably ergometrin. So as the name itself suggests, this ergometrin, so it will stimulate the uterine smooth muscle and brings about oxytocic action. Apart from that, it will also act on the dopamine receptor. It is one of the receptor which is having CNS stimulant action. See, anything that acts on dopamine receptor, preferably it will be having the CNS stimulant action. And anything that acts on the D2 receptor coupled with CNS stimulant action, it will also inhibit the prolactin release. That's also important mechanism. And it also acts on central serotonin receptor and one of the thing responsible for CNS stimulation. So three mechanism of action. It's a partial agonist and antagonist of alpha 1 receptor and partial agonist and antagonist of serotonin receptor, and it brings about oxytocic action. Act on the dopamine receptor, brings about CNS stimulant action coupled with inhibition of prolactin release. And the clinical signs of the ergotism. See, clinical signs of ergotism, it depends upon the form of ergotism. See, the types of ergotism, we get three types of ergotism to be precise. So the three types are, the first one is acute ergotism, or also called as nervous form of ergotism. The second one is chronic ergotism or gangrenous form of ergotism, and the third one is hyperthermic form of ergotism. See, acute ergotism or nervous form, it is very commonly seen in case of carnivores, horses and sheep, and manifested as vertigo, weakness, recumbency, tremors, spasms, hyperexcitability, incoordination, ataxia and tonic convulsions. So occasionally there will be nodding of head and posterior paralysis, and you also notice gangrene of the extremities. So in acute ergotism also you can notice the gangrene of extremities. And the common form of ergotism, chronic ergotism or gangrenous ergotism, it is very commonly seen in case of cattle and also in case of humans. So where rarely it affects the humans, and more common form of ergotism. So chronic form of ergotism, so if the animal, if they ingest the fungal infested grain for a longer period of time, so then they will suffer from chronic ergotism, weeks or months together. So what is the first sign of chronic ergotism or gangrenous ergotism? Typical lameness will be there. So in the lameness, the affected part, so you can observe swelling of fetlock joint and pastern joint, and you can feel, and if you touch that affected area, so there will be cold sensation, so there will be cold feet, and lack of sensation will be there. If you touch also, the sensitivity factor will be very less in that dependent part. And you can observe sharply demarcated necrosed area in case of feet, ear and tail due to the vasoconstriction. So once vasoconstriction sets in, it will lead to necrosis and gangrene. So afterwards there will be sloughing off of the parts of the feet, ear and the tail. Then that part will be covered with the crust. So there will be crust formation in the sloughed off area. And this clinical sign, it will be exacerbated in case of cold condition, or in winter season this condition will be flared up. Why it will be flared up during cold or winter condition? Because cold or winter condition, it further causes vasoconstriction. So the frostbite, when you notice this frostbite, whenever we shift into a more colder area, there will be frostbite. So similarly, the cold condition leads to vasoconstriction, so further flares of the gangrenous ergotism. So other clinical signs apart from lameness and swelling of the joints and sloughing of extremities, there will be increase in the body temperature, increase in the pulse, increase in the respiratory rate, and diarrhea and anorexia will also be there. And there will be decreased udder development. So in late pregnant animal, there will be decreased udder development and post-parturient agalexia. Why post-parturient agalexia? I told you, it acts on the D2 receptor, inhibits the prolactin release, due to which there will be decreased udder development post-parturient agalexia. So milk letdown will not be there after parturation. Then abortion. Why abortion? If the pregnant cattle, there will be abortion due to oxytocic action. So due to oxytocic action of ergometrin, so there will be abortion. So these are some of the clinical signs under chronic ergotism or gangrenous ergotism, which is a very common feature affecting the cattle. Then the third form of ergotism is a hypothermic form of ergotism. So it is very rarely observed. So where, as the name itself suggests, there will be hyperthermia more than 105 to 107 degree Fahrenheit. Dyspnea will be there, hypersalivation, decreased milk production. And post-mortem finding, so if you are lucky, you can appreciate the presence of ergot sclerotia in case of GIT, and you can appreciate the gangrene in the extremities and further crust formation. So microscopic lesion, coagulative necrosis of the affected part, and you can also observe decreased udder development in the late pregnant animal if it is died. Then diagnosis through history. So history is asking the owner, so what you are feeding, and if you check that grain or if you check that feed, so there will be infestation. So if you find out the sclerotia, that will become circumstantial evidence. After collecting the history, if you go around the place, if you notice any sclerotia presence in the feed, any black color sclerotia presence, so you can suspect for the ergotism. And depending upon the classical clinical sign and also the weather conditions, during winter the chances of ergotism will be higher. And also from post-mortem finding, and also the very important thing is, if you suspect for ergotism, so send it for detection. So extraction and detection of ergot alkaloid. See, many agriculture laboratories, they are equipped with detection of many mycotoxins. So if you send it to any agriculture laboratories, so they will detect and they will extract and they will detect different type of mycotoxins. So treatment, symptomatic treatment, you can go for saline purgatives, anticonvulsant, animals kept warm. Why animals kept warm? So cold condition increases the this one, so that's why animal kept warm, so it will flare up the condition, the cold weather or cold condition, so withdrawal of feed. Then fescue toxicity. See, fescue toxicity, it is one of the forage crop in Western countries. So preferably in United States of America, in Canada, and also in Australia and New Zealand. So very common forage crop fescue. And this fescue grass, so very commonly it is used as a turf grass. So if you see in cricket field or in golf field, so generally we see this fescue grass. So fescue grass, they are used as a turf grass, so used as a ornamental grass, and also used as a forage crop. So naturally grown, very commonly used as a forage crop. And fescue mycotoxin, it is elaborated by the fungus Neotyphodium coinophyllum. So because of this fungus, it will elaborate the fescue mycotoxin. So this fescue mycotoxin, similar to ergot, it is a name which includes the ergopeptide alkaloid. So ergopeptide alkaloid contains ergovalin, and this ergovalin is the culprit that causes fescue toxicity. So the fungus Neotyphodium coinophyllum, it mainly infests the fescue grass and elaborate this ergopeptide alkaloid, preferably ergovalin. And pregnant mares, they are highly susceptible, and the clinical signs manifested are, there will be spontaneous abortion, stillbirths, ROP will be there, agalexia, then laminitis. And foals, if they survive, then their size will be larger than a normal foal, and overgrown hooves will be there, and poor suckling reflex will be there. And in the cattle, there is a condition called as fescue summer toxicosis, and this fescue summer toxicosis, again due to grazing of the fescue grass infested with the fungus Neotyphodium, and there will be decreased feed intake, decreased weight gain, decreased milk production, salivation will be there, rough hair coat in fescue summer toxicosis, followed by agalexia. Then there is a condition called as fescue foot, which affects the cattle and sheep, again due to the presence of the mycotoxin ergovalin. So it is the mycotoxin that causes fescue toxicity, so preferably ergovalin. So during summer it causes fescue summer toxicosis, during winter it causes fescue foot. And the clinical signs related to fescue foot, it is very much similar to the gangrenous ergotism. So fescue toxicity, So very rare in case of India, the areas in southern India or in any areas of India. So Western countries, Australia, New Zealand, very commonly you see fescue toxicosis. So assignment questions. So the source of ergot alkaloids are dash. The source of ergot alkaloid, I mean the fungus name. Then sclerotia formation is characteristic feature of dash toxicity. Dash form of ergotism affects cattle, whether nervous form or gangrenous form. Ergotism in cattle worsens during winter, justified. Fescue summer toxicosis is caused by dash toxicity. So that is about the mycotoxins. So what are the mycotoxins we studied? So we studied about hepatotoxic mycotoxin, nephrotoxic, estrogenic, cytotoxic, neurotoxic, then this miscellaneous ergotoxin. See, apart from that, so there is another mycotoxin called as citrio-verdin. It is also called as yellow rice toxin. So yellow rice commonly seen in the Japan country. So where the yellow rice, the rice used to get infested with the fungus, and they used to elaborate this fungal toxin citrio-verdin. So it will lead to the color change in the rice. It will change the color of rice into yellow. So ingestion of such yellow rice will lead to citrio-verdin toxicity. So as far as this toxicity is concerned, so exam sake, so citrio-verdin is a mycotoxin also called as yellow rice toxin elaborated by the fungus. So that is about the mycotoxin. So in the next video we'll discuss about some bacterial toxins. Thank you.